All right, welcome back to the New Equity Network show. I'm Michael Yorba, your host, and Jared Fabriello, co-host here. We've got a next guest. This is a first for us. We've never spoken about films or the entertainment industry like we are now. Jack Honor, founder, principal, shareholder, screenwriter, and producer of StereoVision Entertainment, StereoVision.com. Jack, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Great, Michael. Thanks for having me on your show.
All right, my pleasure. You've got some background in the entertainment industry, but before we get to that, get the stock symbol on your company?
OTC SVSN, Sam Victor, Sam Nancy.
Got it. Give us a background on you, your team in the industry, and then let's get into the ventures that StereoVision is embarking on.
Well, we bought StereoVision, the grandfather of all 3D companies, 15 years ago, and took it public with our plan to produce independent movies. And of course, over the years, we've learned a lot about the job of getting an independent movie made. During that time, we've collected a great team of partners here. I'm here to talk with you today about two of our film projects and our wholly owned subsidiary, 9-time Emmy Award-winning Resonate.
Okay.
Three Dimensions of Jerusalem is our faith-based movie. Story of three young teens, one Christian, one Muslim, and one Jewish. And they live in Jerusalem, and they play in the same youth orchestra. They're best friends, and they just don't understand all the hate they see around themselves every day. So essentially what this movie is about all faiths finding common ground in music and ultimately making beautiful music together. Our Academy Award-winning screenwriter, Pamela Wallace, said this is the most important project of her career. Our music director is a man named Misha Siegel. Misha is an Israeli Oscar-nominated composer, and he has a group called the Forbidden Band, which you can find on the internet at forbiddenband.com. They played recently for Disney, for the employees of Disney, 6,500 employees of Disney, and they brought the house down. The group essentially lives the message of our movie. It's a combination of Jewish, Muslim, and Christian musicians. And we've been at Sound City Studios for 15 years. And, we've had Metallica there and Britney Spears, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. We've had the opportunity to meet all kinds of terrific composers and musicians. But when Misha came to the studio and he plugged in his demo reel, within 6 bars, everyone had goosebumps. It's incredible music. And ultimately what the story is about is how the three families of the three kids band together and face the struggle of dealing with Islamic extremism.
Right. That's a big topic right now, and so what you're doing, you haven't produced the film yet. Am I hearing that?
Correct. We have half the funding in place, and we have a Indiegogo campaign. If you go to Indiegogo and look up faith-based feature, 3 Dimensions of Jerusalem, you'll see our campaign there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the reasons we bought the 9-time Emmy Award-winning Resonate, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
The other movie we're here to talk about today is Gonzo's 3DD. It's our commercial moneymaker, and we believe it's the gold mine of our slate. It's a 3D extreme sports action comedy set on Miami Beach, featuring some of the world's most beautiful women and some of the most famous X Games athletes. Our writer-producer partner is Michael Burke. Michael created product integration on Baywatch when he had Coca-Cola pay $3 million for Hasselhoff to drink a Coke and say, "I love an ice-cold Coke." Well, with Gonzo's, we're launching a new paradigm in product integration. Your mind captures a 3D image 85% better than a 2D image. Recently, we had a pitch for the Barton distributors who import Corona, and we had an old Western scene where the ice-cold Corona floats off the screen, and they were all reaching out to get it. And they saw the potential in this. Well, the guy that brought in 300 sponsors to Baywatch, including Coke, who paid $3 million for that product integration, is on board with this project. And this is another project that we have half the funding for. It's also being directed by Harvey Lowry, who won an Academy Award for special effects with Benjamin Button. And what we're doing with to find the funding on these other films is we bought the 9-time Emmy Award-winning 3D animation company Resonate. Resonate, for instance, the E on Entertainment Tonight. It does motion graphics and titles and branding. And as that business has been moved over to China, we've evolved Resonate into a company that is being used as a branding mechanism. And what we're doing is collecting accredited investor databases so that Resonate, as a business development corporation, we're taking it public, as we've announced recently, can be used as an in-house funding mechanism so that we're able to fund our own movies and not have to go through the Hollywood voodoo economics.
Let's pause for a minute. Let everybody understand, because not everybody lives in Burbank, and they haven't lived the life that you've had to and wrestled with the alligators and the anacondas day in and day out about how to get funding. That's not the first time I've heard that term, voodoo economics. But tell us the hurdles that you have to go through using the classic funding methods that you face every day in Hollywood versus the other funding strategies that you're employing and why they're easier and how things have been with the Indiegogo campaign, because I know more people are using crowdfunding as a source of capital formation. So let's first cover, if I can, full circle, what the problem is with Hollywood voodoo economics, and then why you've chosen to go the other way for funding.
Well, in dealing with the studios, of course, they don't want independent movie makers out there. They're your competition. So you either deal with them, or they try to put you out of business. Well, a story I like to use about the studios is our agent, Mark Lichtman, who's represented 300, Sin City, Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, Walker, Texas Ranger, Magnum P.I., actually Clint Eastwood's movie Unforgiven. They did Batman, Dark Knight Returns in the late 90s. He represents Frank Miller, the writer. Well, the deal was that they were supposed to get some of the profit. Frank Miller was supposed to get some of the profit. Well, that was 20 years ago. Huge blockbuster hit. They still haven't received a penny in profit. So what we're doing, what we want to be able to do, and that's why we're using our own funding mechanism, is be able to take the money out ourselves and not have to go through the studios to be paid. When you take a movie out with a studio and they distribute the movie for you, even if you have a big weekend when you come out and you make money on the first weekend, you don't see that money for at least 18 months. Whereas as an independent producer, you can see your money right away. Now with the movie Gonzo's 3 Double D, it's a product integration platform. Last year, Heineken's paid $45 million for James Bond to hold a Heineken in that James Bond movie. Well, with product integration, the sponsors have to pay before the movie's made to have their product included in the film. So that becomes an integral part of your financing. And then with the foreign distribution sales, you're able to factor those and get more money up front for the financing of the film. And as I said, we have, through our director, Harvey Lowry, half the funding in place with a family office that's funded half of his last 5 pictures to fund these movies. So we're using these alternative funding methods to generate the other half. The Indiegogo campaign is off to something of a slow start. It all comes down to marketing with that. There's so many people out there trying to get money through these crowdfunding platforms that you get lost in the shuffle. But that's one of the reasons we're here doing the show with you today, is get some awareness out there about some of the different things we're doing to raise money. One of the things that we're doing with Resonate is we'll be using the Jobs Act, and the general solicitation is now allowed for accredited, actually now unaccredited investors.
But you know what? Let's do this. I want to get into the Jobs Act. I'm really enthused with the inside look about what goes on behind the scenes of funding a movie and all of the mechanics that go about the distribution. And Jared Fabriello, our co-host, has got a lot of questions for you. He's very familiar with that capital formation process. Let's save that for the next segment. Take a break and come back on the other side. All right?
Will do.
All right. Jack Honor, president, founder, shareholder, screenwriter, and producer, StereoVision.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break with Jack Honor on New Equity Network show. We'll be right back.